Hello and welcome to ScreenHour with me, Maggie,
And me, Garrett.
where we discuss the latest releases of films, series and game regarding our own impressions and experiences. We warn you before deep dive into spoilers.
In this episode, we're going to be talking about the Amazon Prime film called Devotion, starring Jonathan Majors and Glenn Powell. I think right off the cuff, the very reason I wanted to watch this film in the first place is because I thought, because it was showcasing Glenn Powell in a fighter pilot role, I was like, it's Top Gun Maverick, but set during the Second World War. That was literally my first initial impression. But then upon watching the film, it is not that at all.
To sound like the guy from the Hobbit film where it's like, I've never been so wrong.
Yeah.
In a good way, though. In a good way.
Definitely in a good way, for sure.
For what it's worth, I looked at it as both the main actors in it are great actors. And I was like, this will be good. It'll be different. And even if it is just, like you say, Top Gun in World War II, on that type of era, I'll be like, this sounds cool. For what it's worth, for a very similar reason, I thought I'd give it a go. It's good.
I think, first and foremost, like, just simply outstating the fact, it is a good film. It's enjoyable. I mean, sure, it's not something, it's not the world's greatest film, but it's got a lot of heart.
Yeah, so when I was watching it last night, I texted you and I basically just said that. You know, I didn't want to talk about it too much because, yeah, that's what we're doing here. But I says that exactly. It has got a lot. It's got a lot of heart. It's a film where all it tries to do is just establish a good friendship with the backdrop of a terrible thing of war, and it really achieves that. Like, if that's the only thing it's trying to do, really.
For its time as well, it's an unlikely friendship because of racial segregation, and that is the theme of the film.
Yeah, to be fair, it is the only real theme. It is done well.
Yeah, it's very, like, emotionally mature the way it handles it, and you don't really it's a weird one because normally you sort of on the outset get an idea pretty much straight away that, oh, this is the theme of this film. But it's not until you're probably maybe half an hour or so into the film thinking, this is actually what they're showcasing, you know, the racial segregation of an African, the first African American. So Jesse L. Brown. He's the first African American aviator to complete basic flight training. He's actually quite an accomplished person given like this time era. So he got his pilot wings in 1940. Sorry, this is based on a real story. I should have started with that. Based on a real story, and he gets his pilot wings in 1948. He's very accomplished. He graduated from his high school, or whatever you want to call it, as the salutatorian, which is basically second to the valedictorian. And most of us have heard of what a valedictorian is, but whoever comes second is then called the salutatorian, or something like that. Despite his like racial segregation, which is quite interesting, obviously for its time.
It's a big deal, isn't it? It's a big deal. Anyway, let's face it, as you can imagine back then, and this is highlighted across the film to its benefit, is that, you know, the odds are really against him to the point where the teachers are trying their hardest to make him not pass. Well, we get more to that in like the particulars of that later on, like.
But yeah, there's a particular line where Glenn Powell's character says to Jonathan Majors' character, you know, just listen to what you're told and do what you're told. And he says, I can't always do what I told because if I ever did what I was told, I'd be dead, because of the way that his instructors and you know, peers and just people in his past pushed him down just because of his ethnicity, right? To force him to the point to get him killed. And he says, you know, if I listened to those people, I would be dead right now. I've had to forge my own path. Right, and the way that was delivered was incredible.
To be fair, you can say this about every show here, but it really hinges on the main two leads' acting performance.
For sure.
And that and Jesse's wife,
Daisy.
I think it's Dickie, the captain, like the flight captain.
Like the commander of the group.
The commander of the group.
So he was a great character.
He was a great character, very good character. The way he's written, he's not
a typical American commander, is he? He just seems like he's in the shit with the guys. He understands.
He's empathetic to him without being patronising, but he's quite, I don't know, he's quite morale boosting also.
Yeah, he's very warming.
Yeah, he's quite warm. As you say, he seems like, quote unquote, one of the lads, one of the boys, but he's
got the respect.
Yeah, the commanding officer. As Kieran says, it's based on a true story, and I get more in particulars when we go into spoilers. That really works towards its benefit. You feel a lot more emotionally, a lot more emotive towards it. Again, this is spoilers, so I'll talk about it later, but the ending in particular, it really helps with that.
Yeah, if it wasn't a true story, I wouldn't have been satisfied with where they go with it. But because it's a true story,
as I say, I'll talk about that in a bit. But yeah, it's definitely, I 100% agree with what you just said. The sound design, so I watched it with my earphones on, and it is, whether it be the gunfire, that's something like, as much as I love Top Gun, apart from the actual dogfight at the end for the last, I don't know, less than 5 minutes of Top Gun, even though it is great, there is no real, like, because they are not at war, there's no real dogfights or action in that sense.
Yeah.
And you don't really feel like there are in much danger until the last 10 minutes of Top Gun. Like,
I absolutely agree. You know, as much as I don't want to shit on Top Gun, yeah, you don't feel like they're in danger at any point. Apart from, like, they're in danger of themselves, you know, for, like, crashing or whatever, because they're not completing the course.
Yeah.
That's their only sort of real danger.
The sounds of the shooting where, like, they're using the anti-air gun and they're flying past them, and they've got, like, a shot where they're in the cockpit. And it almost feels like they're flying into the bullets. Obviously, they're not, like, especially not doing it on purpose. But that's great, and that's intense.
Yeah, I love the bit where the camera's on the wing of the plane as he's coming in for his landing.
Yeah, that's good.
That bit there, I mean, it's a bit tough on one part because you know that the background and everything is CG. You know, it does take out of it a little bit when you're. I mean, I do this because I don't know, I hate myself, I guess. But every film I look at, I always try and look at how it was made while I'm watching it. So I always take myself out of the moment sometimes. Is that an oxymoron then? Always, sometimes.
Yeah.
But, you know, I'm watching that scene of he's landing his plane and the camera's on the wing looking over at him, like looking at the whole of the plane and watching his head movements and whatever as he's coming in to land. And it's an incredible shot. But then my mind wanders and goes, how is this filmed? How did they do that backdrop? And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh yeah, it's CGI. And I'm like, no, don't look at it like that. Just enjoy the film for what it is.
Yeah, I feel that there is moments in a lot of films when you always feel like the CGI can take you away. Yeah. And unless you're Kieran, unless you're like really looking for it, that we won't take you out of it. As Kieran says, like, it's because, to his credit in a lot of ways, because, it makes you analyse things a bit more, but the budget they must have spent on this must have been a lot, I feel. I suppose on top of that is how much it is to put something back, with a set dressing, with a period, and put it back into the 50s. So obviously, by I say the 50s, it's not set in World War II. Yeah, me being ignorant thinking with the trailer, it's the Korean War.
Yeah, the war that America forgot, or something like that, is what they taglined it. The budget was 90 million.
So I mean,
that's a lot.
What I will say is,
but apparently its box office, it only grossed worldwide basically 22.
Yeah, so this is what I'd say, and this happens a lot, unfortunately, is I don't want to use the term too often, because ironically, you do values the term underrated when you do, but it feels like it's underrated and undermarketed.
Definitely undermarketed. The only reason I knew about it was because I think its trailer played before I watched something else on Amazon.
Yeah, exactly. And this is what I was going to say. Me and you spoke about it in October time, maybe September time. It's been on there for a while now, I think.
Yeah.
But it definitely never came to UK cinemas. And if it did, I am wrong and I apologise. But at the end of the day, I'm not blowing my trumpet too much, but me and you host a podcast and we like to think of our stuff on films. I did not see it about the end of the fall, as the Americans say, or autumn here. Huh. And I was just a trailer, never mind out.
Yes.
It should have got marketed more. It is good. It's definitely worth a watch.
Yeah.
The only real thing I'd say a bad thing about it is I feel like there's some scenes where it's a bit heavy-handed on the theme a bit much. It could have had more scenes of them, the two of them just being happy together, having more of a bromance. So you feel like they bond a bit more. And also there is some longer bits, but for me, some bits where it does feel like it's a bit long. But at the same time, I get to that more, which, again, this is very easy for me to say. Some chop and changing I'd do, but that in spoilers in particular.
Yeah, I think I like the break we have when they go to Cannes, is it, in France, and they meet, spoilers, Elizabeth Taylor, and they sort of like have a bit of a night out with her, and then they have a bit of a kerfuffle with the Marines. That was a nice sort of change of pacing there, and it did sort of change it up from just the regular routine of wartime. And if you were to change that out for more of a bromance moment, I think that would be wrong, because there was still a bit of a bromance bit to be had there, because you got to see Jesse, John Major's character Jesse, as he is, not as the aviator, but as a person, and how everyone is just looking down on him and just discredits him because of his ethnicity.
I feel like they just needed more of that. That's what I'm saying. I feel like they needed more of that and less of like, what's that? Because that theme of him being segregated and he's like prejudiced against him pops up so often. I feel like to need all the thread of their friendship. Like, I think, Tom and Liz, John? Tom Liz and Jesse's friendship, they could have bonded a bit more.
Yeah. I think you're right there. But I also think part of me is because it's, influenced by a true story, there is going to be more documentation and more literature to draw from of his time during, his posting. Whereas his sort of, recreational days, they're not going to know squat about that. So that's going to be more make-believe. So I think maybe they wanted to be more true.
You're right. How often, if we go down the pub and have a drink, do we make a report on it after? Like?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah, that's a good point to look at.
I mean, I could just be grasping at straws here, but that's, how I logically look at it.
No, it's a good point to bring up, to be fair, especially if you're trying to be quite as faithful as you can, which I presume they were.
Yeah.
The other thing is, it's just a different film. It's
an interesting biopic.
It's an interesting film. It's interesting biopic, but yeah, it's like, I wouldn't straight up describe it as a war film. I wouldn't describe it as action film, but also I wouldn't describe it as just either. Like, I like to think, and like, as we said, I've looked up a bit on it, it's like quite a faithful biopic, but it's quite refreshing.
Yeah, I wouldn't have called it an action, even though there is action in it. I think of all of the sort of genres, it does lean to drama more so than any of it. It sort of has that vibe of Leonardo DiCaprio's film Aviator. It's a very different film, but it has that sort of tone to it.
Yeah, I like that. It feels epic, and like the scale's good, and like the brutality of war. But it doesn't like sugarcoat it.
No,
it definitely doesn't.
When I watch films and stuff, the thing that I always focus on and listen to is like the sound design, which Mikey's already picked up on. Sort of, you could feel like you were in the war. You could feel like the shaking of the plane as it's flying and the bullets flying past your head and stuff. You can feel that sort of, especially if you're wearing your headphones like Mikey does. But the music, the score itself, I felt was very in tone and very in keeping with the theme. It captures the tone and the era of the film perfectly, and it even just enhanced like the feel and the mood of just the epic moments, but also the sort of heartbreaking moments. And what's interesting as well, I didn't know this, but the composer is called Shanda Dancy, who is a African-American female composer. It got me thinking, how many other female composers can you name? Like, I could only name 3 other ones. All right, so you got Hildur, I can't pronounce the last name, but she's Icelandic, and she did the Chernobyl TV series and Sicario. Right, she did the music for that. You've got Delilah Derbyshire, who did the Doctor Who theme, like the real famous Doctor Who theme, and then you got Sonia Belasova, who did The Witcher, right? And those are like the only three sort of female composers I can think of. But this Shanda Dancy, she did the composing for Whitney Houston's biopic, I Want to Dance with Somebody. I haven't seen it, but I've heard it's really good.
For what it's worth, because I'm not as into it as you, and like you've picked up on that, I don't know many like female composers at all, really. Yeah, it's a fair observation. It's quite good. And as you say, what I like about the score is it doesn't it doesn't take you out of it, as you say.
No, it's got that sort of, she's using the piano and strings, which isn't a breakthrough or reinvention of music. It's classical sort of instrumentation. But it's the way that it's been composed together to give that sort of regal yet somber sound. And then you've got that use of the brass in the background, which is very synonymous with the military, and it creates this militarian foundation through its brass instruments. And yeah, it's just the way it's been composed together is really good. And the bits of it you listen to that become so, I don't know, I want to say synonymous, but at the same time it's not, because it's it's one film. It's not like it's a theme sound that you'll hear for the rest of your life going around. But when you hear the sound, you sort of recognize it of that is the theme. And if you were to ever hear it again, you'd be like, that's from that film. You know what I mean? Like you got the Jurassic Park or the Jones. You hear the theme and you're like, I know exactly what that's from. And this has got that sort of same sort of synonymous sound within its core melody.
It's definitely one of the best takeaways from the film.
I mean, there's many great takeaways, to be fair, but it definitely helps create that emotion alongside the brilliant acting, especially from Jonathan Majors. His emotional scenes were incredible, and the music just, I know they worked hand in hand, both of them.
I think the Glenn Powell is good because in Top Gun Maverick and some of the other films I watched him in, he plays the typical charismatic. It's hard. It's easier said than done, to be fair. But Glenn Powell plays the typical charismatic, likable bad boy, and he smashes that in Top Gun, as you say. But in this, he has a lot more pathos about it, and that really gels well with Jonathan Majors, because Jonathan Majors, he is cool. Don't get me wrong, he is, but you see his struggles and you see his psyche in it, and he carries the film on his shoulders. He really does. But I think when he shines the most is when he's having, again, I don't know, spoilers from now on, really.
Okay, we're going to spoilers. I'm going to spoilers.
Before we get into juicy spoilers, we'd like to take a moment to thank you for listening to us and to help us further our aspirations. We would further appreciate it. And if you would like to subscribe to us, follow us and join your preferred platforms, you can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Anchor and Instagram with our handle, The ScreenHour. And if you'd like to participate in an episode, leave your thoughts on what you'd like to see us cover next. That'll be ideal. Now time for spoilers. You have been warned. They're coming up. Particularly when he's having a go at himself and he's wrote down every harsh insult or mean thing which has been says to it. That's when you really see him shine. You see the emotion pour through. You see how worked up he gets. And more so, the be-all and end-all of the film is, without being too patronising, the film is just try and put yourself in Jesse's shoes. And it's a good way. That's a very good and articulate way to do it. The other reason he smashes it so well is just when you see him quite literally he takes his jacket off when he gets home, and he almost just sheds his skin of being in the military and being an aviator, and he can just relax because he's at home with his wife and his daughter. And he just seems simultaneously, he's most vulnerable when he's shouting at himself in the mirror. But it's nice to see him particularly when he's with his daughter. You see him emotionally. And that's, to be fair, a lot of good war films do it, and a lot of good films in general show that every man or woman has their own personal family, but especially when they're a father or mother, you see them open up a lot more, and they are vulnerable then, and you can see them in their happy place and what's the forefront and top of their world. is that's how he just wants to give back to that, and the little things of him just when the lads go out in cans and he goes, I'll catch you up, and he's buying Daisy something nice, and it's the back and forth between him and his wife Daisy is great, and I feel she's written well in every scene she's in. She's a pushover. She's quite strong, which I say this as being a white male, but she's the stereo in the sense that she's a strong female black character.
Strong independent black woman, don't need no man.
Yeah, exactly. But she really stands toe to toe with Jonathan Majors in it.
I said they complement each other very well.
They really complement each other really well.
Their emotional range as actors to play those characters. And I think what's great is when they're at their most emotional, they are so quiet and so timid. And you rarely see that, I feel, in most things. In most films and stuff now, when people get really emotional and angry and scared, they're really loud and really shouty. But the way, in particular, Jonathan Majors, the way he uses his emotional range to really all in, I could just sense the history of the punishment that the whites have given him for his ethnicity. You could sort of just feel that emotion bumbling through, and how softly angry he is incredible.
For him to be put in a really blunt way, he articulates it and displays it. He's had a tipful because he's been through his entire life. But as Kieran said, he doesn't have to be loud. You can articulate and be emotional with just glances, and the way he acts, and it's just so quiet and calm because, Tom's like, oh, you got to say something, you can't let him run their mouth. But he's used to it, unfortunately.
Yeah, he's got to pick his battles.
Yeah, if he kicks off every time someone had a pop, he wouldn't stop fighting. The main one, and we've very strongly hinted towards it, is about it being a true story. The ending really took me by surprise, in the sense that, if I'm being honest, again, I'm not quite as righteous when Kieran does it, but me and Kieran, I'm right when I guess things correctly in a film, probably about 6 times out of 10. When he's smashing, when he crashes, and he's like, I'm going to go get him, he's stuck. I thought, when he turned up in the copter, his friend he went to flight school with, he says, take the axe. I thought when he was going mental with the axe, that was when he was going to break him through.
Yeah. Well, part of me thought he was going to amputate his leg just to get him out.
Yeah. I thought that would have been good. But I just honestly thought he was going to smash the side off it, and he was going to take him in, and then that'll be it then. But the very fact that he dies in there,
and they can't retrieve his body.
They can't retrieve his body for ages.
When you say for ages, I googled it. To this day, they still haven't retrieved his body. We're talking 70 years later.
Which probably means I don't want to be harsh at all. And it's bad of me saying this, but probably there's nobody to be found, is there? Yeah, it was wartime.
Well, it's all dependent on how cold the conditions are there, because, if you go up Everest, there's still bodies there that have been dead for... I don't know too much about it, but I know the character, Tom, the real life Tom Goodner, he, for his entire life, kept campaigning to try and get Jesse's body back. And after he died, that then became sort of a purpose of his son and Jesse's granddaughter, or something like that. It was something they showed at the end of the film, isn't it?
Yeah.
Trying to get... So, as I'm aware, they haven't got his body back.
If it wasn't a biopic, I would have been like, wow, this is somber. This is a bit rough. But because it was a biopic, it really leant towards it in a good way, which made it hit home harder, which made it a bit more emotional. It was obviously true. This honourable, lovely chap died in anyone died rough, let's face it, to be fair. But
he's one of the people that doesn't, why is it the best of us die young, and why are the ones that, are worthless pieces of shit live forever? He didn't deserve to die. He had so much ahead of him.
I think what's done well is those closing moments when he's with Tom, he's saying, Taldays, I love her so much. Yeah, it's a bit of a cliche, but it's a cliche because it happens. People are like that when they say closing moments, aren't they?
Yeah.
It's rough, right? It makes sense. You think about those top things.
That's what it's weird in those those final moments when you know it's your final moments. You reassure the people around you that it's gonna be okay, even though you are the one that's fucking dying.
Yeah.
You know, it's always trying to put them at ease, going, "Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it.
Just don't worry about it, mate."
Just don't worry about it.
You're reassuring those people around you because as that famous bit from Keanu Reeves, you know, when he's asked by Stephen Colbert, what happens to us after we die, and he says, all I know is that the people we leave behind miss us. In a very essence, you know, that's basically the same thing, you know. It's when they're in that predicament of dying, he's trying to reassure not only Tom, but to reassure his wife and his daughter that, you know, I love them and I was thinking about them. And I mean, spoilers, I've never died, so I've never gone through that. So I can neither confirm nor deny. But from what I know of relatives who have gone on and other situations in films, documentaries, whatever, what have you, you know, they always seem to be reassuring the people around them rather than people reassuring the person that's dying.
It's a general consensus. You are right, and that's what people do, which is a bit rough, really. But it's quite a considerate thing to do.
I say, but again, it was done very well. He was so calm in his death was very calm. It was Tom that was manic.
Yeah, it was Tom. As you say, it was Tom who was manic because he was just trying his best to get him out as much as he could.
And again, like right at the end of the film, they have like he receives his Medal of Honor from President Eisenhower, or I think it is, and he's sat on a bench with Daisy, and he's like, you know, I didn't know if I could face you because he told me to look out for him, and I failed. And she's like, no. She says, I told you. I can't remember that. But I told you to look out for him. I didn't tell you to save him. He made his own decision, right? I just wanted you to be there for him or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think she said, I asked you to be there for him.
And like that moment there, that hits you right in the feels, because she's like, I don't blame you. He made his own decisions. It's like, but you were there. That's what mattered the most. You know, he wasn't alone.
I honestly thought, when he was getting that Medal of Honor, I thought Jesse's going to turn up here.
Oh, did you?
I was still hoping he was going to turn up there with him.
No, I'd accepted his death.
I'd moved on. I'd accepted it. If I had to really nitpick it, I'd say it could have been a bit more bromance stuff with them, and less of the Marines and more like
less confrontation.
Because I feel like we had enough of that in general.
That's a hard thing to say though, because as white guys, we've never suffered that confrontation, so we don't know how regular or irregular it is and how true it was or wasn't. So I think it was just trying to like sell it to us. And to be honest, I think it did a really good job of doing that, because, you know, we're aware of these things that happened in the past, but obviously we never lived them, and we don't deal with any of that on a day-to-day basis. But to see it through the eyes of Jesse's character and to sort of live through it with him, just in those 2 hours, you're like, holy fucking shit, they cannot catch a break and they have to watch everything they say and everything they do. That is so not fair, right? And it's a very strong social commentary on the world. Yeah, I know. I don't really know how to articulate it or say what needs to be said, but
I think what it does do, from what it's worth, you are right. It's a hard way to get over the friendship and the poor treatment and like the way things were, and the segregation and the essentially racism, obviously the bullying, and that was in the workplace nowadays. Bloody hell, you get sacked in the first 2 seconds, and rightly so. But yeah, that was also over 50 years ago, like
70 years.
Yeah, 70 years.
So you're not wrong, over 50, yeah.
Mr. Pedantic.
It's like 1940s was at least 3 years ago. Well, you're not wrong.
Exactly. Refer to our quote-unquote reviewing scale. It's not in the cinemas anymore. If you could say on Amazon, it's on Prime, obviously, like we mentioned. If you've got Prime, it's a no-brainer.
I'd say I'd give it the top tier. Has it got shortcomings? Absolutely. But there's other areas that really make up for it. And I do recommend people see this film because there's a lot to take away from it.
Yeah. And it's honestly it's a nice true story to keep in your mind for you to learn about. What a thought-provoking story.
Yeah. And Jesse L. Brown is not a name I think I'll ever forget.
You hit the nail on the head. And that's what you should go out to do, really. Now we're going to remember that. It's really smashed in that aspect.
For sure.
In the great words of Monty Python, now for something totally different. Something we've often mentioned on the podcast in passing.
More than a few times.
Is a real game called Apex Legends, the Battle Royale, the FPS shooter, the free-to-play, fun, movement-based hero shooter.
From Respawn.
Which we both...
Distributed by EA. Anything else?
We're not promoted by them. But the reason I'd give it that much of a spiel is that we have Kieran more so.
Because I'm a fucking loser.
He plays it a hell of a lot more, but, you know, we have played it since the day of release, and which is coming up to its 4 year. Well,
it's come and gone.
It's come and gone because when we saw it, I'll get there in the end. A bit of context. But we've played it a hell of a lot. So they have the Apex Esports Championship, which is called the ALGS, Apex Legends Global Series. And we both saw that live in London. And we a couple of last week, didn't we?
Yeah, it was only last weekend.
Of day of recording of this. And to give you, because I know Kieran's was coming in his pants and thinking about it now. So before I hand you over to Kieran and we do a bit more back and forth about it, I honestly, if you're remotely into any PlayStation and more so PC game, because I know the esports, you know, is mostly based around the PC, is just go and watch it live, because the atmosphere is. I've been to a few like sports, like I'm not really into football, but I've watched a few football things when I was a kid, and I've watched big games of different things throughout the years, and it feels like that because everybody is there, passionate about the same thing, and their heads and eyeballs are screwed to the screen, screwed to the players, and they're so invested. And because they are, when shit's going down, and like as you'd watch the highlights on YouTube, you're seeing those highlights in, dare I say it, IRL, in real life, and you are going mental. Because you're going mental because you like it, but you're feeding off the atmosphere, and it is crazy.
It's quite an experience, isn't it? It's not something, because I've watched almost I have watched every single ALGS tournament, and when I realised they were coming to London, I was like, I would like to go and see it, but I just don't know like what the vibe's going to be like. I don't know how, you know, weird the people are going to be that go to these tournaments, or, you know, what the setup's going to be like, or, you know, I didn't quite know what to expect, and I managed to talk Mikey into it. Yeah, we went down into London, stopped to the Friends, which saved us a shitload of money. Cheers, Jim.
Shout out to Jimmy and Liv.
Jimmy and Liv, cheers. Cheers, guys. And then, we just took some electric bikes, cycled down the canal, straight to the Copper Box Arena, and it was an incredible experience. We only went for the one day. We went for Saturday, because that's the day where you get the most games for your money. It was such a wholesome vibe in there. There wasn't like, you know, the sort of neck-bearded, overweight, living in your mum's basement sort of blokes that you expect to be there, you know, like the sort of in their 50s. There was nobody like that. There was just people, just normal mid to early 20s to mid to late 30s. You know, that was sort of age range there. And everyone was just normal. They were just very passionate about Apex. And it was a real good vibe in there, a real good atmosphere, as Mikey says. It was a very relaxed environment in the sense that you could just meet the pros as well. You could just bump into them, have a chat, you know, shake their hand or give them a fist bump or whatever, and take photos with them. It was a real surreal experience, and me and Mikey were very fortunate that we managed to bump into the CEO himself, Imperial Hal. You knew I was going to bring this up, didn't you?
Yeah, in the context of Apex ALGS, it's honestly like, I don't know, for like a football fan meeting David Beckham, or an American football fan meeting someone.
Tom Brady.
That's the exact example I was going to use. If you've played Apex Legends 3 times, you've probably heard of Imperial House.
Yeah, everyone knows. He's the biggest diva in Apex. Well, to him, because spoilers, TSM won the tournament, which was, you could see it was going to happen anyway leading up to the tournament. They were winning every sort of scrims and like oversight tournament or hyperlux tournament. They were just fucking winning everything. So they were really riding that high, and they took the win. Rightly deserved, to be fair. I think they've put in the work, though they did deserve it. Obviously, I'd have liked to have seen my boy Nasky take the victory, but it just wasn't their time, wasn't their tournament. But so I had a good old chat with Nasky as well, who's one of the pros that I've been watching for a long time, like from the very, very early days. I'm like an OG GSD fan.
Well, what he's worth, how do you pronounce it again?
Nasky.
One of my favourite moments, and this sounds like I'm a child or really like emotional or whatever. One of my favourite moments is just because of how wholesome it was. Nasky, when we was in the calf opposite, we was there, and the calf's probably, I don't know, it's not a big calf whatsoever, so you can see people clear as day.
Yeah.
And Nasky was there with his dad and his granddad, and it's very evident. My granddad especially, so I don't speak too much for Nansky's granddad.
Nasky,
or Nansky, whatever.
Well, his real name's Casper, if that's helpful.
There you are then, Casper. But at the same time, my granddad wouldn't, but just, the computer game or the video game. I doubt Casper's granddad really has a grasp on what Apex Legends is or how good his grandson is. But what he does know is that he's got random people like me and Kieran speaking to him. He's flew to a different country for people to watch him do it. And his granddad and his dad, like Kieran mentioned, that the dad was the one who wanted to take the picture with him.
Yeah. I was just chatting to him, and his dad was like, "Oh, would you like a photo?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'd love a photo." And his dad was like, let me take it. And I was like, sure. It was really, really nice, really wholesome.
It's just nice to witness that as well. I just thought, like, credit to Casper. He's quite a bit younger than us, to be fair. But he's really smashed it, and he just seems sound as well. And you can see how people, especially players of video games, you can see that if they're a celebrity, they won't have a lot of social, I don't know. It's not a very social game, even though it's a team game. So you think to yourself, it could be very easy for them to be big-headed or because they're in their own little world. But all the people we spoke to, in the end, really, as Kieran says, we spoke to a few of the pro players just by passing, really. And they just seemed really sound like.
It was just a very nice, warming, welcoming, wholesome vibe in the tournament. And I think that's just the main getaway. If you've ever been on the fence about going to an esports tournament because it's esports and it's not a proper sport or whatever, just go, and you'll be surprised about the people that you'll meet there and the sort of experience that you'll get from it. It is a lot of fun, and it's definitely worthwhile, and I would definitely do it again.
One thing I've really found interesting is the logistics of them filming it.
Oh, it was incredible.
They have us as, I would say, TV audience, but obviously we're a YouTube audience or Twitch audience. Them filming us to a degree on I think there's something like, I don't know, 8 cameras maybe? 2 of those are on tracks, automated tracks following the players.
No, there's actually 4, because there's one for the top row, left side, one for the bottom row left side, top row right side, and bottom row right side.
Exactly.
So there's 4 tracks.
You've got them filming us every now and again on the cranes as an audience. You've got them filming the casters. You've got, obviously, then when they switch to the players. On top of all that, spoilers, you're there to watch the footage of the game, especially if you're at home watching it or on your phone or whatever. So the logistics of filming that and editing it on the fly as like you would on a stream is really quite smart. Like, it's quite sophisticated. So to see it physically done there and then, to be when it's being, I wouldn't say shot because it's past 10, but being streamed is really good.
I say that there was so many screens, TVs there, wasn't there? There was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think there was 7 big screens, and then there was like on the ground floor, like like right on the stage as such. There was I think 6 televisions just on like wheels on a mounted frame with wheels that were just in front of all of like the bottom row filming, and like the hype man as well. You got the hype man that was like getting everyone to start cheering for when like it was coming from a break back into the show, and you know when there was breaks we'd be doing Mexican waves and shit. What pissed me off is me and Mikey went fucking hard on a Mexican wave, and then we realised it wasn't even being televised.
Yeah, there was that, and we never got any free shit. They're throwing free stuff into the audience, and we never got any free shit.
Dom, give me free shit.
The only little really annoying thing I would say is Apex makes their money with the battle passes and the cosmetics and whatever, because it's a free-to-play game. Don't get me wrong, I thought it would have been cool if you went in and because you brought the ticket to play and you're watching it, you're a passionate fan, here's your microtransactions, you've got your Apex coins, here's your redeem code to get those Apex coins.
To be fair, that would be a big incentive, sort of like, you know, the next battle pass is free. Because then the amount of people that want to go and see like the live performances, they can get like a whole battle pass for free. Obviously, some battle passes are a bit shit, but you know, the actual chance to get that for free as long with your ticket and the event itself, you know, that's a big incentive right there.
Or like a really cool a few legendary skins.
Heirloom shards.
Like heirloom shards would be cool as fuck.
Where's my fucking heirloom? I'm a day one player and I don't have a In fact, I've got 2 accounts that are basically day one players and not one has got fucking heirlooms.
Nah, neither have I. I'm like nearly 500 and I still know. You've got 2 400 characters realistically.
I've got 2 500 characters, but one character is almost 600. But then obviously because the prestige cap was only recently introduced, I'm technically maybe 800 on the one account and 500 on the other, right? And not one has a fucking heirloom.
I know. Whether it be down to like how good the atmosphere is or the casters, how good the commentators are, and the players themselves and the setup, it's honestly, if you're remotely into e-gaming loads and you feel like you're on the fence, as Kieran says, to watch an esports, go see it if it's not too much hassle. Like, if you go away with a friend, particularly to watch it, you would really enjoy it.
I think we're all in that same boat of like, it's not ashamed, but because it's an esports, you're like, oh, it's not real sport. Like, everyone shuns on it. We live in a society. You know what I mean? So, but then because everyone's just sort of like got that same sort of imposter syndrome, I guess. Everyone just chats very easily with each other. But it was a great experience. I enjoyed it very much. I mean, I got to meet some of my favourite pros I've been watching for years. It was just being in that stadium, in that live event.
It's really good.
Oh, one of the great moments as well is the one of the biggest moments that came out of this ALGS is when Mandy jumps on the table and starts like fucking cheering in front of like the crowd. Me and Mikey were fucking there, man.
There when that happened, there's quite a few moments. There's a moment I've got recorded on my phone when someone gets a mad like hip shot with a Kraber.
Oh yeah, Case Winnie, yeah. That was moments before Mandy jumps up on the desk. I mean, even we've got Jen Burton's dad that was sat 2 rows in front of us, and he was cheering DZ. Right, and then I've actually filmed it, and DZ win but that particular game, and like his dad's absolutely going mental, and I'm filming his dad, and I'm filming them like on the stage directly in front of us, and like everyone around us is going, wah! Like it was so good.
It was really good. So as of day of like recording now, it's Monday the
13th,
day after the Super Bowl, and like a lot of Brits, and I'll say this, I have a few friends who are into American football. We're not particularly asked about American football.
Go Chiefs! I'm only saying that because I know they won.
It might have been Chiefs, might have been fucking the Dolphins, might have been whoever, I don't know.
Right, it's Chiefs and Eagles, mate. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. What I do know is, for the last god knows how many years, well, ever really, is they release good trailers because so many people in America watch it. It's a prime time to release trailers. The trailers we've watched have been Guardians, The Flash, Transformers, and Indiana Jones.
The Dial of Destiny.
Indiana Jones, The Dial of Destiny, yeah.
I hate that title so much. Dial of Destiny just doesn't like compute in my head, and it sounds so fucking naff. Raiders of the Lost Ark, Temple of Doom, The Last Crusade, Dial of Destiny.
This isn't too much of a hot take, but although apart from James Mangold doing the Indiana Jones film, and James Mangold's done a lot of good stuff, and the fact that Phoebe Waller-Bridge has had a hand in writing it, as well as she seems to have a very prominent role. I'm not really asked about it, despite it being Indiana Jones, one of the like strongest trilogies of all time, because we don't talk about Crystal Skull. And could you just left it as a trilogy?
Stop, he's already dead.
Stop, he's already dead indeed. But for what it's worth, where it'll be highlighting the fact that you've got a Phoebe Waller-Bridge in it, Mads Mikkelsen's in it, and Mads Mikkelsen is one of the best of all time already.
Antonio Banderas,
I didn't know was in it, but he's in a few frames. So everybody was always going to watch it, but it does entice you into more interesting scenes, and it definitely feels like more of a legacy film, like Kieran said as well. I don't know how I feel about Dawn of Destiny title.
I will see it. When I see it in the cinema, I don't know yet. I might.
I'm not sure because it definitely feels like a cinema film. It's like
I don't know how them. It's the de-aging for me. How often is that going to be in the film? And like, it already looks a little bit ropey in the trailer. But I know the trailers never make it look as good as it'll look on like a cinema screen. You know, because of the YouTube compression and what have you, it never looks great. But yeah, I don't know. I don't have high hopes for it. I think, you know, Rotten Tomatoes is probably going to give it like a 54 or something like that.
No, I think it'll be better than that.
You reckon?
Guardians Galaxy, I'm in the minority here because the Guardian films are just good. I know a lot of people fucking love them.
I think the first one was really good, but then the second one I was like, yeah.
I disagree. The first one's just meh. The second one's a lot better. Like, Ronan the Accuser is such a wank.
Actually, no, yeah, I do agree with you there. He is a terrible villain.
The second one has Kurt Russell villain is such, I don't know, so much better, much more interesting. But the James Gunn, it just feels like more Guardians. So if you like the Guardians, that just feels like more Guardians.
Yeah.
Right, Transformers film, again, it just seems like another Transformers film, which...
I don't even know what the timeline is of this, because Optimus Prime looks really young. So is this meant to be after Bumblebee? Or is this meant to be after Sam Witwicky? Or, you know, what's the timeline we got going here?
I think it's just in the Bumblebee continuity. Bumblebee was actually sick. If you have what... Yeah, Bumblebee was actually really good.
Yeah, I did enjoy that one. Rise of Beasts, like, sure, the Beast looked pretty sick. Like, the art style for the Beast looked pretty sick, but the whole point of the fucking Transformers is they're meant to blend it. And when you see a massive-ass gorilla that looks like a mech, right? You're not going to be like, oh, don't worry about it, it's just a normal gorilla, innit? Come on, mate, that's a fucking robot, like.
Because the Rise of the Beasts have their own lore, don't they? The Beast Transformers, so I know what you mean, so they're not particularly subtle, but the lore and like the stuff, and the cartoon series for the Beast was sick. I don't know, I just feel like it's going to really rest its weight on how cool Anthony Ramos is, because he is really cool, and how nice that Porsche looks for the lead Transformer.
Porsche got a deal or something going on there.
It looks like an expensive advert for Porsche.
Yeah, for sure.
Big one for me, and this is the one I watched as soon as I woke up on the toilet this morning.
Is there any other place you watch trailers, mate?
Oh, exactly. That's the time you watch trailers. You've got to watch as soon as you wake up. The Flash trailer, despite me definitely don't like Ezra Miller as a bloke. Not at the moment, anyway, because he's really fucked up. He's doing a lot of bad things, but I don't want to slag the guy off too much. He's got a lot of...
He hasn't been convicted yet.
He hasn't been convicted yet, and also I imagine it's hard dealing with substance issues, so that sounds bad. But the best thing about the Flash film, even though it's not out yet, and it's just showed a full trailer, is not the Flash.
You're not wrong at all. The best thing about the Flash trailer is not Flash.
It's not the Flash. At the very most, it's the Flash's interactions. Not even when there's another Flash in the only fucking trailer. That's not the good interactions. The good interactions is his interactions with Batman and Clark Kent, who's, well, not Clark Kent, sorry, Kara Kent. I don't know what name they're giving her because Kara's Supergirl, but I don't know what they're giving the female version of Clark. His interactions with Michael Keaton, and I presume you noticed it as well, also.
Wait, that's Michael Keaton?
No, I was referring to Billy Big Balls there, getting cheeky. is Christian Bale's Batman's in it for a few frames.
Is he really?
Yeah, if you for literally about 3 seconds, 2 seconds,
Do you reckon that's reused footage that they've like borrowed from Warner Brothers?
I don't know. I feel like the internet would have exploded if it is, because you don't see Christian. It's not like you see Christian Bale as in like his Bruce. You just see his Batman on a bat cycle. Yeah, so it could be stuntman or it could be whatever, but he's definitely in it.
Oh wait, his bat cycle.
Yeah, his bat pod's in it. His bat cycle's in it.
Oh no, I think that's Keaton's.
Nah, it's not.
No, yeah, because I'm literally looking at a thumbnail of that right this second, and it looks like Batflick's outfit, or at least a new version of it, because it's...
Nah, it wouldn't make no sense. No, it's definitely Christian. It's definitely like Batman.
No, because it's not the same. It looks different.
No, watch the trailer again. I promise you.
All right, I will do. I'll freeze frame it and send it you. It's a different cycle for sure. It looks completely different. I'm literally looking at it right now.
It might be, but there's also another frame where like Christian Bale Batman's in it.
All right. I mean, it's interesting. Obviously Ben Affleck's Batman's in it because you actually see Ben Affleck.
Yeah, you actually see Ben Affleck as well.
So it's quite interesting. But as we said, the only reason I think 90% of people are going to see the Flash film is because they want to see fucking Michael Keaton as Batman.
Yeah, that's why most people are going to see that. And on top of that is they're going to reboot. Yeah, this is very soft spoilers. The Flash film, which is coming out this summer, is basically based on the Flashpoint comic book arc, is where Barry essentially resets the timeline. It's for the DC universe continuity. So I think they're going to use that as a jumping off point, so they can reset the DC films, and they can use it to introduce the multiverse and such, which is a great idea considering a lot of the films like.
Too little, too late. I mean, I'm super fatigued from superhero films, but I'll never be super fatigued from a Batman film.
One of the main differences, there's two really I can think of at the top of my head, but is that Clark doesn't get adopted by the Kents. He crash lands in a city and the Americans pick him up and just chuck him in a lab. And that's why the girl in the trailers says skinny bless her. It's because like he's basically tortured and experimented on so they can like use him to get powers and such. So he doesn't have like, he's quite like a bit of a whimper-dump in the comics, bless him, because he doesn't know love, he's not treated properly or whatever. So he's basically a prisoner. But one of the more like, especially for its time, interesting hot takes is the Batman of that universe isn't Bruce. Bruce is the one who got murdered in the alley. And the Batman is Thomas Wayne, who instead of using batarangs just straight up uses handguns. And the Joker in that universe is actually Martha Wayne. How do you know that name? Why did you say that name? Why did you say that? But they've got a lot of good source material to play with. I don't want to like go on a totally different rant about The Flash.
You're just giving us the synopsis here, mate. Don't need to watch it.
I say all this, I'm definitely going to watch it because like we say, this is the stuff they're willing to put in the trailer. I can almost guarantee that, if you remember correctly, Bruce's dad in Batman vs Superman is played by Jeffrey D. Morgan. And you're telling me you don't want to see Jeffrey D. Morgan play a version of Batman? Well, we need to have a discussion because Jeffrey D. Morgan is an absolute badass. It's going to be so interesting. And seeing Lauren Cohen as a broken Joker-esque character, take my money now. So, I don't know. Maybe delete one of the Flashes though. Maybe take one of them out, especially if it's another Miller one.
Yeah, I wonder how old the twins of the Flash is going to get. Like, how quickly is that going to grow old on me? And I'm like, oh God, they're just quipping every 10 seconds now.
Probably 2 minutes for me. I'll probably cry when I see Michael Keaton on screen, so it'll be okay.
There we are. That's our little thoughts on the Super Bowl.
Super Bowl trailers. As always, thank you for listening. Well, we've got upcoming episodes. In a few weeks, we will probably I'd say just under a month realistically, so I'm looking at how long it will take to complete it, is we will be doing Hogwarts Legacy.
I say I've just started playing that.
So Kieran just started playing that.
Yeah. I was very skeptical about it to begin with because I'm like, this is a game that's going to be either really good or really shit, and I was leaning more towards really shit. But I've put 10 hours into it now, and I haven't burnt myself out just yet, but I'm quite enjoying it. I'm not the biggest pothead. I'm not the biggest Potterhead. Yeah, I'm very far the other way. I'm like, I enjoyed Harry Potter when I was growing up, but I wasn't like obsessed. But like the game itself, like you do really sort of get into the pun fully intended, the magic.
We'll be covering that soon. We'll be covering The Fableman soon. I've watched that. I'm going to see Ant-Man opening weekend this weekend. I don't think Kieran will, but I'll be covering that soon.
To be fair, I had no intention in watching it until I watched Jonathan Majors in Devotion, and I was like, oh shit, I actually really like him. I think I might want to see Ant-Man, but I don't think I will. I think I'll just hold out for his performance in Creed 3, which I'm so looking forward to seeing.
Yeah, I'm very pumped up for that.
Yeah, Creed 1 is like in my top 10 films ever.
We've got quite a few good topics coming up, really. But thank you for listening, guys. It's greatly appreciated.
Yeah, we appreciate it as always. And yeah, we hope you enjoyed it. I guess we'll catch you in the next one.
Catch you in the next episode. Take it easy.
Bye.
Bye.